The sun was only beginning to slide over the golden fields of Clover Ridge when 16-year-old Lena Hartley stepped off the rusty pickup truck that had carried her to school every morning since she was 12. Her boots were muddy, her jeans worn, and her braid tossed by the wind. She looked like a girl carved out of the countryside itself, quiet, steady, carrying the smell of fresh hay and long days of labor. For years, Lena had lived alone with her grandfather on a struggling farm far outside town. Most kids didn't know anything about her except rumors, that she wrestled cattle on her own, that she could shoot straighter than the sheriff, that her mother had run off and her father was dead. In truth, Lena didn't correct the rumors because she didn't care. She cared about the farm, the horses, and keeping her grandfather alive long enough to see one more season. But high school was not a place that rewarded quiet strength, and today, like every day, the moment she stepped onto the cracked pavement of Clover Ridge High, she heard the snickers. The bullies, Travis Wade, his girlfriend Brittany Hale, and their pack of wannabes were already leaning on the hood of Travis's cherry-red car like they owned the whole town. Travis was tall, loud, and cruel in the casual way of someone who had never known struggle. His father owned half the county, and Travis treated everyone else like they were stepping stones scattered across the ground. And Lena? She was the easiest target, poor, quiet, and too busy working to fight back. Look who crawled out of the barn, Brittany smirked loudly as everyone turned to stare. I swear I can smell the cows already. Travis laughed, flicking his sunglasses up. Hey, farm girl. Did your horse drop you off, or did you ride your pet goat again? The group erupted in laughter, and though Lena felt the sting, she didn't respond. She never did. She just tightened her backpack strap and kept walking, her heartbeat steady but hard. She had already been up since 4 a.m., fixing a broken fence, feeding the animals, and helping her grandfather whose arthritis made every step difficult. She didn't have space in her life for kids who thought cruelty was a personality. But today felt different. There was someone else watching, parked across the lot, leaning casually against a matte black Harley-Davidson Road King, was a man with a beard, sunglasses, and a leather vest patched with the unmistakable emblem, Hell's Angels, Nomad. He looked like trouble, like thunder on two wheels, like the kind of man parents warned their children about. But his posture wasn't menacing, it was observant. He watched everything, Travis laughing, Brittany whispering, Lena walking away with her head down. He watched with the calm, heavy silence of a storm cloud deciding where to strike. No one noticed him. No one except Lena. She glanced toward the stranger for only a moment, and in that moment, something passed between them, recognition, familiarity, a flicker of something unspoken. She didn't know him. At least, she didn't think she did. But his presence felt safe inside school. The day dragged like thick mud. The bullies found every opportunity to target her, Travis ripping her notebook, Brittany accidentally spilling juice on her desk, the others whispering when they passed. But Lena endured it with a quiet resilience that made Travis even angrier. Bullies hated walls they couldn't crack. They hated strength that didn't announce itself. After school, Lena walked toward the parking lot, hoping to get home before her grandfather tried lifting something he shouldn't. But as she reached the dirt road where the bus picked her up, she heard shouting. Hey! Farm girl! Travis's voice echoed through the empty field as he and his friends closed in around her like a pack of hyenas. Heard your farm's about to be taken by the bank, he sneered. Maybe you should beg. Go on, get on your knees and move for us. His laughter scraped across her nerves, but Lena didn't move, didn't speak, didn't give him anything. Until Brittany shoved her hard from behind. Lena stumbled, hitting the gravel. Her palms scraped raw, her braid dust-coated. Travis stepped closer, towering over her. Say something, he ordered. Come on, cowgirl. Cry. At least then you'll be entertaining. The sun dipped lower, shadows stretching long. The bullies were loud, angry, cruel. But the sound that cut through everything was the slow, deliberate growl of a motorcycle engine approaching. Travis froze. The others stepped back. Lena lifted her head, the Hell's Angel pulled up beside them, dust swirling around the tires, sunset gleaming off the chrome. He killed the engine, swung one leg over, and stood there, tall, solid, unreadable. The bullies stared in stunned silence. The man removed his sunglasses, and his eyes, sharp, cold, aware, locked onto Travis. When he finally spoke, his voice was low and calm, but heavy with something ancient and dangerous. You kids, he said slowly, have exactly 3 seconds to step away from that girl. The field went silent. Even the wind held its breath. Travis, usually fearless, suddenly felt a spike of panic. Rumors existed about men like this, men who didn't care about consequences, who lived by codes no one else understood. Relax, man, Travis stuttered. We were just two. The biker didn't raise his voice, didn't move, but his presence swallowed the entire field. Something primal in Travis snapped. He grabbed Brittany's wrist and jerked her away. Come on, he muttered to the others. Let's go. The bullies fled, muttering excuses, tripping over themselves in their rush to escape. Only when they were far down the road did the man turn his gaze to Lena. "You okay?" he asked. "Yes," she breathed, staring at the stranger. "Thank you." He nodded once. "Good. Because you're not alone." "Not anymore." She frowned slightly. "Do I know you?" The man exhaled slowly, like he'd been waiting years for the question. "Yeah," he said quietly. "You do." And as the wind swept across the fields and the sun dipped behind the hills, Lena realized the truth she hadn't dared to imagine. The man standing before her, the biker, the Hell's Angel, was her father. The one she thought was dead. The one who had never stopped watching. And he had come back for one reason only, to protect the daughter he'd been forced to leave behind. Lena barely slept that night. Her father, Red Hartley, once the most feared rider of the Hell's Angels nomads, was alive. Alive, standing there, protecting her like he had never left. But he had left. And that memory dug at her like a thorn. Why now? Why after all these years? While dawn crept over the farm, Lena stood in the barn doorway watching the horses graze in the mist. Her grandfather sat on a hay bale, looking at her with the tired eyes of someone who had kept too many secrets for too long. "Your dad didn't abandon you," he said quietly. "He went underground. Dangerous things were after him. Staying would have put you and your mama in danger." Lena swallowed hard, heart-twisting. Mama still left. And he blamed himself for that, her grandfather said softly. "Been watching you since you were little. Always kept you safe from a distance. But now," he sighed. "Now things must have changed." Before she could ask more, the silence outside broke with the low rumble of a familiar engine. Lena stepped outside. The morning sun spilled over her father's bike as Red approached, leaning against the fence like he belonged there. He didn't look like a stranger, he looked like a missing piece returning to where it should have always been. "You ready?" he asked. Lena stiffened. "For what?" "For the reckoning." His voice was calm, but the storm behind his eyes was unmistakable. "Those kids ain't finished with you. People like that, they push until someone pushes back." Lena looked down at her scraped hands, at the bruises forming on her arms. She thought of Travis's laughter, Brittany's shove, the whispers that followed her everywhere. And she thought of the years she endured alone, always alone. For the first time, she didn't feel alone anymore. "I'm ready," she said. At school, the buzz was instant. Students whispered, pointing at Lena as she walked down the hall, not because of her clothes or her quiet steps, but because there were suddenly two massive Harley bikes parked outside the building like silent monsters on guard duty. Travis and his crew were pale, restless, unsettled. Fear had replaced their cocky swagger. But fear didn't erase cruelty, it amplified it. During lunch, in the cafeteria where laughter echoed and trays clattered, Travis slammed his hand down on Lena's table. "You think you're tough now," he hissed. "Just 'cause some biker freak scared us off?" Lena didn't flinch. She lifted her eyes slowly, meeting his gaze with a steady calm he had never seen in her before. "Walk away, Travis," she said. Her voice wasn't loud. It was steady. Final. "Walk away." Brittany snorted. "Or what? You'll call Daddy Hell's Angel?" That was the moment the cafeteria doors swung open. Hard. Loud. Every head snapped toward the entrance. Red Hartley stepped inside, boots heavy, expression carved from steel. Teachers froze. Students whispered. And Travis went sheet white. Red didn't shout. He didn't posture. He simply walked, slow and deliberate, toward the center of the cafeteria until the room felt too small to contain him. When he spoke, it was barely above a whisper, yet it rattled the air. "My daughter," he said, eyes burning into Travis, "has had enough." Travis trembled. I wasn't." "We didn't." Red stepped closer. "You think picking on a girl makes you a man?" Travis shook his head rapidly. "No sir. Yes, look at her," Red ordered. Travis turned, swallowing hard, meeting Lena's eyes. "Now you apologize. And mean it." Travis opened his mouth, but Brittany grabbed his arm in panic. "We're sorry," she blurted. "We won't touch her again." Red's gaze shifted to her slowly. "Did I ask you?" Brittany froze like a statue. Red's attention returned to Travis. "Your turn." Travis seemed to shrink in front of everyone. "I'm sorry," he croaked, voice cracking. I messed up. I won't bother you again. Ever." Red studied him for a long, agonizing moment, then nodded. "Good. Because next time? I won't use words. Silence swallowed the cafeteria whole. Red walked away, but before leaving, he turned and addressed the entire room. "A warning," he said, eyes sweeping across every face. "Kindness is free. Cruelty? Cruelty has a cost." And with that, he exited, leaving a room full of stunned students who would never forget the lesson, but the story didn't end there. Because after school, on that same dusty road where Travis once cornered Lena, she found her father waiting beside his bike. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded. "Better," she whispered. "Stronger." Rhett exhaled like a weight had finally lifted from his chest. "Good. 'Cause I ain't going anywhere again. I'm staying until you graduate. Until the farm's safe. Until you say you don't need me anymore." Lena's throat tightened. For years she wished for this, for someone to stand up for her, to shield her, to tell her she mattered. And now, finally, she wasn't the lone girl on the dusty farm road anymore. She was the daughter of a Hell's Angel, protected, loved, and unstoppable. As the Harley engines roared behind them, Lena climbed onto the back of her father's bike. And when they rode off into the sunset, dust trailing behind like a banner of triumph, she realized something she had never believed before: she was never alone. She was never powerless. And her story was just beginning. The days after the cafeteria reckoning passed like a slow-burning fuse across Clover Ridge, and while the bullies kept their distance, the town itself seemed to shift beneath Lena's feet. People who once ignored her now whispered her name with a mixture of awe and fear, and she hated it not because she disliked respect, but because she felt like she had earned it not through her own strength, but through her father's shadow. Rhett, however, saw the storm coming before she did. He knew boys like Travis didn't stay humiliated, they simmered, they plotted, they grew desperate to reclaim the power they believed was theirs. And trouble always finds the insecure. That Tuesday evening, as the orange-blue sunset bathed the farm in a glow of rust and honey, Lena finished feeding the horses just as her father walked in, his boots heavy with the weight of bad news. "You've been quiet," she said, wiping her hands on her jeans. Red didn't answer at first. Instead, he leaned on the stall door, jaw tight. "Local sheriff came by the shop," he said. "Says Travis's daddy filed a complaint. Claims I threatened his boy." Lena's stomach tightened. "But, that's not what happened." "Doesn't matter," Rhett muttered. "Power rarely needs truth to get what it wants." He pushed a hand through his hair. "Wade's been after me for years. He hated your mother, hated me even more. And now he's got a reason to come swinging. Fear flashed through Lena, not for herself, but for Rhett, who had just started to feel real again in her life. "What do we do?" she whispered. Rhett looked her dead in the eyes. "We stand our ground. But you," he touched her shoulder gently, "you keep going. Keep living. Keep fighting for that future you deserve." That night, the wind rattled the old windows of the farmhouse, and Lena lay awake listening to every creak, every distant truck engine, every whisper of the fields. Something wasn't right. Something was coming. And she felt it like a weight on her chest. The next morning proved her right. At school, a different kind of tension crackled through the halls. Travis wasn't loud. He wasn't smirking. He wasn't even looking at Lena. Instead, he walked around with a haunted expression, dark circles under his eyes, flinches at sudden noises, like someone living with a shadow hovering behind them. Brittany and the other bullies were jittery, jumping at the sound of lockers slamming. Lena caught whispers, "His father's furious. The biker's dangerous. Sheriff might intervene. Wade wants revenge." The quiet before the storm felt suffocating. But the real eruption didn't happen at school. It happened after. The dusty farm road stretched long and lonely as Lena waited for the bus, her breath fogging in the cold air. That was when a sleek black SUV rolled up, not her father's motorcycle, not the sheriff's truck, but something colder. Something calculated. The tinted window rolled down and revealed the last person she expected, Travis Wade Sr., the wealthiest, most feared businessman in Clover Ridge. His eyes were narrow, calculating, his voice dripping with a smugness only money could buy. "Lena Hartley," he drawled. "Get in. We need to talk." Lena's pulse spiked. "I'm not going anywhere with you." His smile never wavered. "You will if you care about your father." She froze. "What did you do?" "Nothing yet," he said calmly. "But if you want to keep him out of jail, or a coffin, you'll get in." Fear coiled tight in her stomach, but beneath it, a spark of her father's fire lit inside her. She raised her chin. "If you're threatening him, I'm not scared of you." "Oh, I know," he said. "You're your father's daughter. That's the problem." And before she could step back, the rear door opened and someone shoved her inside. The SUV sped off, gravel spitting beneath its tires. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Rhett's instincts roared like a wildfire. He knew something was wrong the moment he arrived at the school and found only the empty road and Lena's abandoned backpack lying in the dirt. Old instincts awakened, the instincts of a man who had survived clubs, cartels, street wars, and betrayals. A man who had spilled blood and walked through hell. A man who would burn a town to the ground if anyone touched his daughter. He picked up the backpack, his hands trembling not with fear, but fury. He dialed an old number, one he hadn't used in years. After 3 rings, a gravelly voice answered. "Rhett? You alive or is this a ghost?" "I need the brothers," Rhett growled. "Now." Within minutes, the distant roar of multiple Harley engines filled the highway like thunder rolling in. A formation of Hell's Angels nomads tore down the road, leather, steel, and vengeance on wheels. They weren't here to intimidate. They were here to reclaim one of their own. Back in the SUV, Travis Sr. dragged Lena into an abandoned construction site, a place of rusting beams and half-built walls. It was cold, isolated, forgotten. "Your father is a disease in this town," he sneered. "And now he's spreading it to you." Lena glared at him, refusing to show an ounce of fear. "You think kidnapping a girl makes you powerful?" "Oh no," he said. "Breaking her father does." But before he could say another word, a sound split the silence, not a voice, not footsteps, but a roar. A wall of Harley engines echoed across the construction site, the kind of sound that made every coward's bones turn to water. Travis Sr. paled. No, Rhett stepped out first, eyes burning like a man possessed. Behind him, his brothers, massive, battle-scarred riders, stood like a legion of angels forged from smoke and steel. "Let her go." Rhett's voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be.